So my main interest at the time was exploring the cave. I wanted to know what it was, how far it went. There are bronze weapons in there, swords, spears, shields, knives. Many artifacts, something like 7,000. No two are exactly the same. It proves that many of the things that have been taught in elementary school, high school, and colleges is wrong. They were treasure hunters searching for that cave. So I decided to completely hide its location. Search all you want, you will never find it.
The history that we were all taught growing up is wrong. My name is Scott Wolter, and I'm a forensic geologist. There's a hidden history in this country that nobody knows about. There are pyramids here, chambers, tombs, inscriptions. They're all over this country. We're going to investigate these artifacts and sites, and we're going to get to the truth. Sometimes history isn't what we've been told. Our country is filled with caves, caverns, and burial chambers that could hide artifacts and sacred wonders from long ago. I've looked for the Ark of the Covenant, the Holy Grail, and other things rumored to be hidden here. I think these things are just waiting to be found by those who search hard enough. Without a doubt, some of the greatest lost treasures of all time are those from ancient Egypt, where vast burial chambers lie virtually empty, the pharaoh's riches having vanished. Many people believe these old world artifacts were brought to the New World, and I think they could be right. A few years ago, I examined some alleged Egyptian artifacts said to have been found in a cave in rural Illinois. But Illinois isn't the only place said to hide such treasures. That's why I'm heading to another place where many think ancient Egyptians once came with their vast riches, the Grand Canyon. Stretching 277 miles, the Grand Canyon is about 18 miles wide and up to 6,000 feet deep. It was carved out by the Colorado River about 500 million years ago, and the layering of the rock reveals a huge amount of our nation's geological history. And there are caves here, but only a few of them have been explored. So if ancient Egyptians brought their treasure here, it's likely still hidden. And I'm meeting a guy who says he knows where it is. Well, Jerry, thanks for meeting me here today in this amazing place.
It is. It's very amazing.
You know, there are many myths and stories about ancient cultures coming to America with fantastic treasures. Some people say that there's a treasure buried here somewhere in the Grand Canyon. And I have a newspaper article from the Phoenix Gazette in 1909 that talks about a treasure here. Let's take a look at this. Explorations in Grand Canyon, mysteries of immense, rich cavern being brought to light. Remarkable finds indicate ancient people migrated from the Orient. And that's amazing.
Yeah, it is. And you know, the person who did this exploration was G.E. Kincaid. He'd been hired by the Smithsonian, and he went pretty much looking for this cave full of treasure and this lost city that's down there.
Did he find it, and what happened after that?
Kincaid knew what he was looking for. He pretty much went to the spot, found a series of steps that went up the cliff wall, went into the cave. He found not only hieroglyphs, but he found all kinds of artifacts.
Like what?
Well, statuary. There were mummies in there. There were, indeed, pieces of gold and silver.
Now, one of the things they mention here is that this particular cave is virtually inaccessible. Although it does talk about 1,400, 1,500 steps, sandstone steps that were carved into the rock that would allow them to get there. The other thing that's amazing to me is, according to the article, this cave is so massive that 50,000 people could have lived there. So potentially there could have been thousands, if not millions, of artifacts inside this cave. And the fact that we look around here and we see this geology, we know we've got sandstone, limestone. It's going to lend itself to caves, and I know that there's a lot of caves here, so, you know, that fits. But today, the Smithsonian's official position is that this whole story is a hoax. Is that correct?
We'd contact the Smithsonian. They deny that there's a cave, that there's any evidence, that there was anything here.
So are you suggesting that the Smithsonian is covering up something here in the Grand Canyon?
Oh, they absolutely are.
Because I know that you've done a lot of work out here. You've made some expeditions here. What did you find?
Well, we came here trying to find the truth. Kathy, my wife, did the research over a number of years and finally pinpointed a spot that we believe is exactly where this would need to be if it truly existed.
So where is that location?
You know, this is a really difficult place to get to, Scott. It isn't easy at all. But yeah, I can show you where we believe the cave is at.
So you're up for it?
I'd be happy to show you what we know.
Well, Jerry, what makes you so sure that you know where this site is?
Well, once we got to the site that Kathy had identified, we started looking very closely at anything that might have been left behind by the Smithsonian explorers and excavation team that had been there ahead of us. We found buttons, pieces of glassware, a name badge, several small pieces that were 80 to 100 years old.
So do you think this corresponds with the expedition back in 1909?
Yeah, I do. Now, this place is very dangerous.
Why do you say that?
Well, it's dangerous because while we were there on several occasions, there were government stealth helicopters.
Stealth helicopters? Seriously?
They know it's there, Scott, and we know that they know it's there.
So do you think they were trying to scare you off?
I know they were trying to scare us off.
Let me tell you this. If there's an ancient site somewhere down in the Grand Canyon, possibly Egyptian, they're not going to scare me off. Ancient Egypt is famous for its vast riches and immense wealth. When King Tut's tomb was discovered in 1922, his coffin alone was made from solid gold and was worth over $13 million. Much of the treasure attributed to Egyptian pharaohs has yet to be found. So what I want to know is, could it be here in America? If it was hidden away on U.S. soil, some people think it's in the Grand Canyon. An old news article suggests Egyptian treasure was found here, and another treasure might be here too, the Ark of the Covenant. My search for the religious relic turned up clues nearby in Arizona's Petrified Forest National Park. If any treasure is here in the canyon, it's in an incredibly dangerous and inaccessible spot, possibly even guarded by the government. But the reward is too great, and I have to find out what's hidden here.
There were things that were going on that just didn't make any sense for such a remote location.
I want to find this thing wherever it is, and I need your help.
This area where the cave is located is considered sacred ground by the Hopi, Navajo, Zuni, and other tribes of this area.
Do you think that maybe they might have some information that could be helpful to us?
Well, I know someone who might have some answers to fill in the blanks.
The Zuni tribe are Pueblo people who have made the Southwest their home for hundreds of years. To the Zuni, the Grand Canyon is a holy place, their creation story telling how the ancestors climbed up from its basin. Even today, Zuni men still make pilgrimages to the Grand Canyon to venerate this sacred site. Clifford, as a Zuni tribal elder, what can you tell me about the Grand Canyon, what it means to your people?
Well, the Grand Canyon, to the Zuni people and other Pueblo tribes, this is considered our place of origin, not only in terms of religion, but also spirituality, about where our forefathers and our ancient ones came out of.
Is there anything in your creation stories that talks about some of these mysterious caves, maybe even the one that could possibly hold Egyptian artifacts?
In our spiritual teachings, there are actually rooms inside the Grand Canyon, and there's several passageways.
Right.
So that parallels with some of the history about the early 1900s, and also about some of the treasures that a lot of Indian tribes talked about.
Are there any stories about what might be in some of these caves?
I've heard a lot of different stories from different tribes that talk about these treasures that are supposedly in there. But then also I heard about a pyramid that's supposedly inside the Grand Canyon.
A pyramid?
A pyramid.
So, Clifford, your oral stories say that there were cities inside of these caves and pyramids in the Grand Canyon.
I absolutely believe in that because there's been a lot of different crossing of different cultures this part of the world. It's my understanding that there was a lot of Egyptian-type relics and artifacts that were taken from inside the Grand Canyon.
Are there any stories about any of these caves being cursed?
In most Native American sites, there are natural occurrences that might be considered cursed. It's sort of like a guardian type thing, and it's still even in existence to this day.
You have to tread very carefully.
Absolutely.
So do you think there still could be treasure down there?
Oh, absolutely. This is a huge place. And if you look at the rooms and the space inside the canyon itself, there's a lot of artifacts of past civilizations. I believe in that there's a lot of treasure still inside the canyon.
Do you think we can get there?
Well, you might try getting there, but it's very dangerous.
Well, you know, I appreciate what Clifford was saying, but I'm not ready to give up yet. We have to figure out a way to get into that cave.
Well, it's a very dangerous place. Clifford was right. I have some video to show you of our 2002 expedition into the canyon. It'll show you exactly how dangerous a place this is.
Sounds good. Let's take a look.
This is our camp from our 2002 expedition when we were at the Grand Canyon trying to find a way down to the area where Kincaid's cave would be found.
It looks like it drops right off, right?
Beyond this point is just a sheer 2,000-foot drop-off. People standing here on the edge of the canyon, past that point, it is straight down maybe 2,000 feet.
It's just what I'm seeing here. It does look, I mean, that's a pretty steep slope.
It's absolutely dangerous, absolutely dangerous. And here you see, now they've gone over the edge, they're hanging off the ropes, they've gone down maybe 800 feet. And this one fellow's just hanging off the rope. They're suffering heat exhaustion. There's no way you can carry enough water to get to this place.
So basically what you're saying is to get to this cave, I mean, it's virtually impossible.
It is. All right, what you're looking at here is while our team was going down, descending into the canyon over these cliffs, you can see very clearly.
Holy crap.
There's this unmarked plane that's flying well below the canyon rim. As you see it going right through there. We've also seen helicopters, and they've buzzed us at various times we've been there. They don't have any markings either, and we feel they must be government helicopters, government airplanes. They were watching us.
Or maybe they were trying to scare you off.
Probably trying to.
So they never did get down to the cave entrance?
They never did. Yeah, it proved to be way too difficult. Heat exhaustion took over, and it was really very difficult to get them back to the surface.
Do you think that we could climb down here realistically?
No.
I mean, how long would that take? What are we talking about time-wise?
You need expert mountaineers and a lot of rope.
Well, you know what? There might be another way to get there.
All right, what do you have in mind?
49er Kenny ground, wind 1806, left turn eastbound approved, runway 21, clear for takeoff.
And Candy, Chapter 49, boost ready.
Got 49, tower proceeds course to southeast.
Chapter 49 with golf for a southeast departure. Here we are over the Colorado River. I need you to tell me exactly where you need me to go.
Yeah, it's just right down there below that ridge.
So I'm going to do an orbit. I'm going to lose a little bit of altitude here.
Okay.
And do an orbit over the locations.
Stanford Assistant, Namqui, Plant 19, climbing 95.
And Eagle 49's over the little Colorado River.
Right there. We need to descend down below that ridge line in order to see directly across into the canyon.
I can't do that. The FAA has restricted all flight below the canyon rim. Not allowed to descend down there.
So you're telling me that the FAA, the government, will not allow us to go down there?
Absolutely not. Chapter 49's any officer 174.
We need to descend down below that ridge line in order to see directly across.
The FAA has restricted all flight below the canyon rim. Not allowed to descend down there.
So you're saying that the government will not allow us to fly over this area right here? This is where the Egyptian cave is supposed to be?
No, sir. We're not allowed down there.
That's the level that we think that the cave is at, it's right there.
Okay. Just beyond that next drop-off.
That next, exactly.
So, Jerry, we are pretty much above it, on top of it, you think?
Yeah, there's the circle of rocks from our campsite.
Is there any way that we could get down on that plateau just above it? Could you land there?
We can land on the top. I can get you on that plateau right over there.
Okay. Well, that would, I guess that's the next best thing.
I'm going to go ahead and just land right down there.
69.
And 978 Eagle 49 is landing. I'll call you back up in the air.
So, Jerry, this was your base camp right here, right? This is where you started your operation to get down to what you hoped was the Egyptian cave?
This is it. When we were here before, the guys that were going over, we thought they were prepared. We really didn't know what it would take at the time. And they went down about 800 feet, and they ended up getting stuck.
800 feet? That's only about, what, halfway down to where you think the cave is?
It's about halfway, yeah. Going over the side, it just seems impossible. You can't see the cave from the bottom, nor can you see it from the top. It's at an in-between level. It's completely obscured.
That newspaper article is very compelling from 1909. Something happened here in the Grand Canyon. I think the government is hiding something. The fact that a plane flew by when you guys were down here rappelling tells me that they had to have been watching you. They're guarding something. The oral stories of the Zuni and other tribes around the Grand Canyon clearly suggest that some people came here, that there are many caves here, but there may be caves that housed ancient cultures and maybe artifacts, possibly the Egyptians. So I'm convinced that there is something here.
Well, we've only scratched the surface, and we're sure that there were ancient cultures who came through here. It could have been the Egyptians. We think it was someone from the Orient. There's some talk that even the Ark of the Covenant might have come through here.
You know, I recently was in the petrified forest, and I saw a petroglyph that looked just like the Ark of the Covenant. So maybe the Ark of the Covenant did come to North America through the petrified forest. Maybe it's down there in that cave. After taking a good look around, it's clear that further exploration is impossible. It frustrates me not to reach this cave, but it isn't the only cave in America rumored to hide Egyptian treasure. There's another cave in southern Illinois, and while I've studied artifacts allegedly taken from it, I've never seen the cave itself. I met the man who claims he found this cave, Russell Burroughs, and I even got his story on camera.
They were people searching for that cave, treasure hunters. So I decided that the best thing to do is to completely hide its location, which I did.
Now he won't talk to me at all. But maybe it's time to go look for the cave and see once and for all if Russell was telling the truth. You know, speaking of treasures, there's another cave in southern Illinois, Burroughs Cave. I'm sure you've heard of it.
We have.
I've actually spent quite a bit of time looking at the artifacts, but I've never found the cave, and that's where I'm headed next. I want to find Burroughs Cave. If I can find Burroughs Cave, it would be a huge step toward proving Egyptian treasure really did make it to America. And that's why I need to visit someone who may know just how to find it. Harry Hubbard, an artifact collector and researcher who's devoted his life to studying the Illinois Treasure Cave. Harry has some examples of the treasures that he's eager for me to see. This is amazing. It looks like the greatest hoard of treasure I've ever seen in person. But they're not gold, these are made of lead, right?
That's correct. These are replicas of original gold pieces brought out in 1985.
What happened to all the gold? Where is it? These are replicas.
Right. Well, Burroughs melted the gold and then sold it off.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. You know, I'm seeing Egyptian iconography, I'm seeing some interesting text, a sun god symbol. To see all this stuff that you have here and to think that it was actual gold treasure at one time is amazing. I mean, it's got to be one of the greatest hoards in history.
The original pieces came from here in Marion County.
Okay.
There's an ancient tomb very nearby.
Okay, the cave, right?
The cave.
All right, tell me about the cave.
The original description indicated that there were 13 crypts.
Okay.
The main crypt had a king in a solid gold sarcophagus, and there was one crypt that actually had a woman in it. And the rest were ancient kings. 13 cadavers buried in one crypt.
So you're convinced that the gold that came out was real?
Oh, yes, most definitely.
Well, let's get back to Russell Burroughs.
Okay.
He's the guy that told me fantastic stories about pulling out not just gold artifacts, but artifacts carved and made out of stone. I've talked to him about these artifacts.
And did you study those artifacts?
Absolutely, I did.
What did you determine?
Well, I can tell you with absolute certainty that I think I know what's behind this notorious mystery of the Illinois Cave and how it might connect with the Grand Canyon Cave that I just looked at. I'm on the hunt for Egyptian treasure that legends say is buried somewhere in America. The big question is, where is it? I've checked out a prohibited area at the Grand Canyon in Arizona. And now I'm examining replicas of possible Egyptian artifacts found in another cavernous hiding place here in southern Illinois. Legend says the original gold and the other carved pieces were taken from a cave here in the 1980s. But whether this is a true story or a tall tale remains to be seen. I've spent years trying to get to the truth myself. In 2010, I managed to get the only interview of Russell Burroughs ever known to be filmed, and I examined some of the artifacts he claimed he found. The varied collection ranged from a shaman and a cartouche carved in black marble to a white marble stone with the Greek goddess Isis on it. But after I questioned their authenticity, Russell refused to speak with me again. The key to the mysterious cave in Illinois here really centers on Russell Burroughs. I mean, he's the one that made the cave famous. That's why they call it Burroughs Cave.
He is the reason that a lot of people have become skeptical of the artifacts, because a lot of them have been tainted and forged.
You know, I felt it was important to give Russell an opportunity to say something about it, so I interviewed him back in 2010.
I'd like to see what he's got to say.
Well, in 1982, I was out working with my metal detector searching for an old homestead. I was walking down the trail on the bluff, and I stepped on a rock which dropped me into a pit or a hole. And lo and behold, behind it was a cave. There are bronze weapons in there, swords, spears, shields, knives, many artifacts, many, something like 7,000. No two are exactly the same.
Well, that's quite a story, isn't it?
This one is different from the rest of them.
Oh, really?
Yes. The story changes quite frequently.
Well, one of the things that does jump out at me is his descriptions of what he sees in the cave are incredibly detailed.
Well, Burroughs describes 13 crypts. The main crypt is a man in a solid gold sarcophagus.
Do you think...
I believe he saw those things.
Well, I have an artifact I want to show you. That's the Isis stone, an Egyptian-looking female who's kneeling in reverence to Ra, the sun god. And this is an artifact that, if you look closer, is very revealing. You look right here, you can see that there are some carved characters here.
Mm-hmm.
This is English cursive writing.
Mm-hmm.
Why would English writing be on an ancient Egyptian artifact? That's problem number one. This particular stone is exactly 2 inches thick, as are most modern white marble tombstones used between about 1850 and 1950, very commonly used at that time. But it gets more interesting after that. If you look at this kind of dark gray material, that's actually modern mortar.
Okay.
The next thing that happened here is you see these chips on the backside?
Right.
Somebody chipped the backside, apparently to try to remove the inscriptions on the back and make it look old. So there's no question in my mind that this is a fake artifact and that it was made from a modern white marble tombstone. But that doesn't mean that the cave doesn't exist. In fact, it could very well exist, and I have a couple of artifacts that I want to show you that Russell claims came from his cave. It looks like perhaps it's an Egyptian shaman. It's got the Egyptian beard. It has a very creepy look to it, and it could very well be authentic. Who knows? This is another artifact that looks very interesting to me.
Right.
This is a cartouche, an Egyptian cartouche.
Yes, it is.
And in most cases, cartouches carry the names of a pharaoh or somebody of importance.
Well, these two are authentic. There's no doubt in my mind. There's not that many people that know Egyptian glyph, and the ones that are carved in Egyptian glyph, the grammar, syntax, everything is pretty much correct.
After looking at all these artifacts here, looking at all the replicas of the gold, imagining this vast treasure underground, my question to you is, do you think the cave is real?
I know the cave is real. And we know how all this came over here. Come on, let me show you something.
Okay.
This is the man who brought all the treasures over here from Egypt.
Oh, really?
Yes.
And who is this?
His name is Alexander Helios. He is the missing son of Cleopatra and Mark Antony.
Alexander Helios was an Egyptian prince whose famous parents, Antony and Cleopatra, committed suicide when a Roman emperor conquered Egypt. Alexander Helios, as the eldest son, may have feared for his life and fled the country with the family fortune. At the time, Egypt had many sailing ships, so perhaps Helios came to what's now America to seek refuge, bringing his treasure with him. All right, so why did he come over here?
One of the stones clearly says we left the Mediterranean to escape persecution. And he's all over these artifacts, probably on about 500 of them. And it tells his life story here. After about age 10, he vanishes off of the face of history.
Okay.
But here we have him as an older man, as a younger man, in different costumes. He was a priest of the sun, and that was his name, Helios, which is Greek for the sun.
Okay. So you think he came here?
Yes.
And when was this?
Probably about 25 BC.
Well, that's very interesting. And how many people do you think came with him?
According to the tablets, probably 50,000.
50,000 people. Well, that's pretty interesting because when I was out at the cave in the Grand Canyon, they talked about it being big enough to house 50,000 people. And maybe the cave that you have here that you think is here, maybe those people also went out to the Grand Canyon.
So what do you think of the theory that Alexander Helios came here to North America with all these treasures?
Well, it's interesting for a couple reasons. One is Helios and the people you talked about are real historic figures. And the fact is they did disappear from the pages of history. And they had to go somewhere. Why not here? So I like it from that standpoint, but I need to see more evidence before I'm convinced. I mean, these are great, but I need to find that cave. Do you know where that cave is?
Yes, we know where the cave is.
All right, show me.
Now this map came from the file cabinet of one of Russell Burroughs' associates. I've been researching this for 20 years, and there's been a few things that I was wrong about here and there, but the location of this tomb is not one of them.
Okay.
This is what we call the pinpoint map.
All right, so this is his secret map, right?
This is Russell Burroughs' secret map. And if you'll notice, there's a ravine system here. And right here, there's dots right here. And also, there's a red dot right here.
Okay.
There's a cavern in one ravine and a large room underneath the ground of the other one.
Okay.
And I'm gonna put an X right there and right there.
So X marks the spot.
You got it.
How far away is this ravine system?
About 4.5 miles away.
Well, Harry, if you're right, I've got to get out there and find this cave. You know, there's always truth in legend. We have to get to the truth, and that's what I'm gonna find. Some people believe that ancient Egyptians may have come to America with their treasure. And now, I'm searching for these caves that may hide these amazing artifacts. I visited the Grand Canyon, where it's believed there were caverns of vast riches from afar. And here in Illinois, I've examined replicas of the many Egyptian artifacts that are said to have come from Burroughs Cave.
When I saw them, I said to myself, where in the world are these from?
Using the secret treasure map that Harry Hubbard gave me, I've tracked down the landowner of the area on the map. And although Harry wasn't allowed on the site, I've been given access. And if there's a cave here, I'm going to find it. I'm investigating the possibility of Egyptians bringing treasure to America. I was just out in the Grand Canyon and I investigated a mysterious cave that is alleged to contain treasures. And now I'm here in southern Illinois investigating the Burroughs Cave mystery, another Egyptian treasure possibility here. What do you think about all this?
I think it's a very fantastic legend. How could people from the Middle East have made it across the Atlantic up the Mississippi and found this spot here out in the middle of nowhere?
I can appreciate your skepticism, but there is an historical figure called Alexander Helios, who about 2,000 years ago did disappear from the pages of history. And he was of Egyptian heritage. He did have ships, he did have a following, and the question is, where did he go? The other thing that is really interesting and compelling to me is that there are at least 7,000 artifacts that reportedly did come from Burroughs Cave. I've seen a couple thousand of them myself, and some of them are quite ornate and beautiful, and they had to come from somewhere. Those are two things that do intrigue me. But I want to hear more about what you have here. And this is supposed to be the area where the cave is. What do you know about it?
Well, let me show you on my aerial view here, my property here.
Okay.
We have the road to the north that we entered here, and we're parked right here at the edge of the woods and this open field. And there's supposedly 2 ravines where these Egyptian tombs or caverns are supposed to be located.
Okay. I do have a map here that I'd like to compare with your map. Okay. So here's your, looks like it's right here. So that would put us, these are the 2 ravines you're talking about right here.
Correct.
So apparently, this is where Burroughs Cave is located.
That's what most people believe, yes.
Are you willing to take me in there?
Yes, I am, Scott.
Discovering Burroughs Cave here in Illinois would be the find of the century. But the questions surrounding the veracity of the artifact's discovery are a problem for most everyone, including me. I want to know, did Russell Burroughs really find and conceal this cave, or did it ever exist at all? His own accounts suggest it's off a trail near some bluffs, just like the bluffs on Stevens Land, so I think we're in the right area. Burroughs said he slipped into a pit that led him into a long treasure cave. My examination of the geology here will be key. If there's not a cave here, then I need to analyze the rock to see if there could be one underground.
Well, Scott, this is the West Ravine.
That is a natural rock shelter. Does it go under here, too?
Yes, there's a ledge underneath where we're standing.
Pretty impressive, actually. Can we get down there? I sure would like to look around here a little more.
Yeah, there's a trail over here to our right that leads down into the ravine.
The first thing I can say is the rock shelter in the ravine is not a cave, but a cave entrance discovered back in 1982 might have become hidden by a rockfall or overgrown by trees in the 30 years since Burroughs first found it. I'm not ready to give up on the idea ancient Egyptians might have come here and tunneled out deep into rock. But to find out if that's possible, I'll need to test the rock type.
So, Scott, here we're at the spot that was marked as an X on your map, but I don't see any caverns or chambers or anything. I see a lot of sandstone that's been naturally eroded by water over hundreds of years here.
Well, you're right. And, you know, looking at the map, it was a very small-scale map, and that dot that was put on there, and it may be on the correct spot, it may not. You know, one of the things I'd like to get a sense of is how well compacted this sandstone is, how strong it is. Could they have tunneled through this following fractures and maybe taking advantage of natural, you know, openings in the rock? You know what I want to do is I want to see what is holding those sand grains together.
You see anything, Scott?
Yeah. I'm seeing sand grains that appear to have little or no cement. That's why this stuff is pretty soft.
Yeah, this piece is just crumbling in my hands.
Right, right. There's one more test that I would like to do, though. What we have here is dilute hydrochloric acid. I want to see if there's any calcite cement, and if it's there, it'll fizz. So let's see.
This looks like they're being absorbed into the rock.
Yeah. It's soaking in quickly, which means there's little, if any, cement. It's an open space between the sand grains. This rock, in fact, does lend itself to carving caves. You know, I've been to places where I would say absolutely not, but here I would say it's possible.
So, Scott, what does it all mean?
Well, what it means to me is, could ancient cultures, conceivably from Egypt, have come here to your property and carved caves and put Egyptian treasure in them? Yes, I think they could have.
Being a realist, I'm not sure I believe that the Russell's Cave or the Mystery Tomb ever existed. And I think this thing's sort of been perpetuated by the fact that Southern Illinois has the nickname as Little Egypt. That's been around since the early 1800s. There's various things that have that word Egyptian in them. Like the local newspaper has pyramids on it, and there's pictures of the Sphinx. And then as a coincidence, the town at the confluence of the Mississippi and Ohio is named Cairo. For anybody to have come over from the Middle East, made it all the way over here across the Atlantic, and much less down in Illinois, would be just the most fantastic voyage in the history of mankind.
Well, you think it's geographically far-fetched that the Egyptians could have come here to the heartland of America, but I'm not ready to give up on that idea just yet. In fact, I firmly believe that there were many cultures that came here prior to Columbus, going back thousands of years. So it's certainly possible that the ancient Egyptians did come here to America. We just need to find more proof. There are incredible stories that ancient Egyptians somehow made their way to what is now the United States. But from all that I've seen, I think that behind these legends is an astounding truth. At the Grand Canyon, I heard from a descendant of some of Arizona's earliest inhabitants about encounters with ancient travelers from the East. It's a story echoed by the earliest European explorers, who found clues to an Egyptian voyage that I think the government may be covering up. I saw an amazing account of a Smithsonian expedition to uncover a wealth of Egyptian treasures hidden in a cave large enough for 50,000 men. Maybe the 50,000 men whom some believe were led here by the son of Antony and Cleopatra. I think the Illinois Treasure Cave and the cave in the Grand Canyon could very possibly be real. The geology proves beyond a doubt that ancient people could have carved hiding places for their vast treasures in both locations. This great land we know as America has many natural treasures, and I'm absolutely convinced that it's been drawing people here for thousands of years.